Welcome to another payment gateway integration video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to implement Paystack recurring charges on your checkout page. They call it recurring charges. Some people call it also card on file or express checkout. But the idea is that after the user checks out the first time, their card is going to be available to check out with right away the second time they come and pay. So here on the merchant website, I hit remember my card, pay, and then I get the Paystack module. Simulate success, hit pay, and then when the payment's successful, I get the payment result. Then when me, the customer, come back again to pay, I'll find the card that I used already saved here, and I could just use that to pay again. Same result. Okay, so that's the end result that we're trying to implement. Now I'm going to walk you how to implement this again. And before you start watching this video, you got to watch my previous video on implementing Paystack pop-up hosted checkout module, because that's a prerequisite to this video. You can't implement recurring charges without implementing that first, or some other Paystack payment integration approach. To implement this, we're going to follow this guide over here, the recurring charges, and we're going to start with a brand new, well, not brand new, well, a checkout page, a Paystack checkout integration that doesn't have recurring charges in it, and we're going to implement recurring charges into it. All right, here's the checkout page. It looks exactly the same. It just doesn't have the option to let you save your card for next time. So the first thing we're going to do over here is that we're going to adjust our front end to have a checkbox that says remember my card for next time. So let's go ahead and code that. Okay, so over here in my cart page, right above the pay button, I'm going to just add a component called form control label. This is just a movie checkout component, and this is what the user is going to do to indicate to the merchant that they want to save their card for next time if the payment is successful. There you go. Now we took care of the UI part. Now, when this is checked, I want to pass that indicator to my server. So here in my API call, I'm going to also pass that flag that says save card check to tell my server that the user wants to tokenize the card for next time. This here says video 36. It's video 39 now, so just change that. And by the way, this is the scenario for a user that's already signed in. So that's why the email is hard-coded here, because this is in a scenario that the user is already signed in and identified by the merchant. So to make that more obvious, let me add this for you. Okay, so after taking care of the UI part, now let's go to the server side and make some changes to our initialize checkout endpoint over here. I'm talking about this /transaction/initialize Paystack endpoint. So here, the change that I gotta do here is simply to indicate to my in my user database that this user is opting to save his card payment method, and he has given the consent for me to use his card on his behalf whenever they come back and ask for express checkout. So I'll go ahead and initialize my database here. I'm using Firebase to store my user data, and I'll just update my user just like this. Cool, and that's it. Let's go ahead and test it. Okay, let's try it out. Now when I initialize the transaction, it does the same thing. It returns the authorization URL, the URL which you can redirect the customer to complete the payment. But also, in my database here, it indicates that the user wants to save their card. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next step, which is to modify this API call, the verify transaction API call, to store the authorization data, so we can reuse the authorization information to offer express checkout to the customer. This is the step that I'm referring to. I'm going to be getting this and storing it in my database. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So here, instead of just sending the response with the verification to the user, I'm going to modify my code to look like this instead. Let me zoom in so you can see. Here, what I'm saying is that after you send the request to Paystack for the verification and the payment is successful, check the Paystack flag called reusable. It's going to be inside the authorization object. They mentioned this here, this flag. This tells you if you can reuse this card to save it and pay again using it or not. If it's true, we store the authorization in our user database here. I'm storing the authorization object. This is this object over here. Then I respond to the client. If it's not reusable, or if the user didn't choose to save the card information, then I just respond to the client anyways. Also, in order for us to avoid just saving the authorization information for every user, we gotta make sure if that user we got to make sure that the user has opted in to save their authorization information to be able to have express checkout. And to do that, we need to get that information from our database. So instead of just doing this, let's get the user document and then get his data and then get his flag, user save card flag. Let me log it here in case something goes wrong. And in case nothing is wrong and it's working as expected, let me just use it here. So here I'll say, if the user has opted to save their card and the card is savable, reusable, then you can update that user with the authorization information from the successful transaction. And I don't need to have all of this. I could just use my user doc, which is up there. Okay, there you go. Now let's go ahead and test this. Right now, I don't have anything here except the email and the save card indicator. And if I call this API, it should save the authorization information for that user in the database. And there you go, it's working. It did save that information. I'll show you how to retrieve the saved card and display it on the front end. For that, you need to implement a new API call. Let's call it get saved card. Here, I'll just copy one of my existing endpoint and I'll call this one get saved card. And all this is going to do is just going to return the saved authorization data from the user database to the client side. So here, I don't need any of these things here. And then all I'm going to do is just return this user authorization information back to the client side like this. There you go, I got it. This is what I'm going to use to display to the client side the saved card so that they can pay using it. Okay, now we need to implement one last API, which is the API that allows us to pay using a saved card. So let's go ahead and just copy one of these and just pay and modify it so that it looks like that last API. For this step, I'm following this part of the Paystack documentation, this one that says charge the documentation. I'm going to be implementing this API, getting this from my database, this from my database, or whatever you get your user information from, and the amount that I want to charge in this subsequent payment. So let's go ahead and do that. So here, I got to get the saved authorization information like this. I'm getting my authorization object from the database, and then I'm getting the authorization code and using it here. And then the email, I'm going to get that from the body of the request, or I can also get it from my database. Safer that way, it's already here in my database, right? The endpoint is going to be different. It's not going to be transaction/initialize. It's going to be charge authorization. And then we don't need to update anything after we do the payment. We can save the transaction information in your transaction database. But for this tutorial's sake, I'm just going to keep it simple. So I'm just going to send the request and then respond to the client side with the response. And let's go ahead and test this last API here. Charge authorization. Calling my pay with saved. Email address is required. Please provide all the params. Looks like somehow the email is getting missed from the request. And that's because I'm referencing the saved auth. I should be doing this. Email, and then take this email, and that's just going to be here. And it should work now. Send it. Email does not match the authorization. Well, at least we know it works, but I haven't associated the right email with the saved or the right saved authorization. So we got to start over with the full transaction flow to fix that, and hopefully it will work. So I'm going to go ahead and deploy all my endpoints to production, and then I'm going to start implementing them in my UI. Okay, let's go ahead and work on the UI. So first thing, we need to have something that calls my API for getting the saved card as soon as the UI loads and load the data for it. So here first, I'm going to need to add a state variable that's called saved auth, and then I'm going to need to fill that variable with the authorization object as soon as the UI appears using a use effective component, and then I'm going to use that data to do that little box that asks the user if they want to pay with their saved card. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, let's see if we're getting the saved authorization information correctly from our server. Check the console for that. Yes, we are getting it. Here's the object. Now, I already said this is a state variable here. I'm going to use saved auth object, which contains this data to display the card information. So here, right over the pay button, I'm going to add a clickable box that says pay with saved Visa card ending with this number. Let's actually move this here under the pay button, and we'll put our saved card option here. Let me just add a little bit of spacing between it and the pay button. Okay, now I just need to implement a method that allows me to use this for payment. When I click on it, it will call my server, send it the email and the authorization information, and pay with it. Okay, I simply just need to pass to my server simply the amount. So let's just pass that, and the rest my server will take care of it. And once the payment is successful, we're gonna handle it just like we handle the payment success for when we use the inline module. So here I'm just gonna take all the code that is under the onSuccess callback here, and I'm gonna copy it and use it here. And this reference here, I'm gonna be getting it from my server response. So that would come under charge authorization, and then not authorization. Where is it? Reference data dot reference. Use this here, and let's go ahead and test it, see if everything's working. Delete this authorization so we can have a fresh start. My card, pay, success, pay. Okay, that's done. Get the result. Authorization saved, as you can see in the database. We go back, we pay with the saved card, and payment is done. Again, using the saved card. One more time, using the saved card, pay with the saved card, payment confirmed using the saved card. And this is how to implement Paystack's recurring charges, also known as card and file experience for your customers as a merchant. I thought it was pretty simple, but just to be safe, always refer to the recurring charges Paystack documentation, which I'm gonna link in the description box below. For more accurate information. And if you enjoyed this video, hit like, subscribe, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And if you want to get access to the full source code that we used in this video and support the channel in the process, check the Patreon link below, where I post the full source code that I used for this video and every other video that I posted before. Anyways, that's all for today. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.